So this is why I needed to remove it. As you can see, that's right full of mouse nests, which tells me that the entire headliner is probably right full. Right, so very similar to how the front grab handle on the passenger side, the two tabs, you actually pop the tab out and then the whole handle pops out. These are the same way. Guys, the dash is now put back together. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a few weeks, a lot longer than I wanted it to be. It's been really crazy. June into July is always a busy time of the year for our family. But now that the anniversaries and the birthdays are all pretty much slowing down, we're going to now start focusing on trying to get this thing done. Today's project's going to be getting the headliner pulled out. I did, the other day, off camera, actually pulled the lower cover down on the airbox again and pulled the resistor out and sprayed steam all up in, if I can find it here, all up in the where the resistor sits. The evaporator's right there. I loaded that thing right full of steam, let it blow back out through the vents. I blew steam directly down in the vents. It just smells dirty now. It doesn't smell, you know, like mouse pee and poop anymore. So we're moving in the right direction. But now, like I said before, we're going to go right around to the back of the truck here. The project for today is we're going to pull this headliner down because there's up on this side, as the 8,000 cars go by, there's a lot of mouse poop and stuff sitting up in here. There's a bunch down inside of this thing that's all falling down in, and all this beautiful work that I did here to clean this and make it look all nice kind of gone to waste because, as you can see, I've started to pull some of the plastic down. I got to pull all these clips out. The whole headliner's going to, all these clips that are holding the headliner up in the back section, they're all going to come out, and then we're going to drop it down. I mean, here's a good shot right here of all the poop that's actually running down from up in here. It's the only reason why I can't get rid of the smell in this thing. Biggest reason why. So I've looked. I really haven't found a lot of what I would call good quality videos removing headliner out of these things. Now this one's missing a whole bunch of stuff that would make it a little more challenging. This doesn't have the DVD player and it doesn't have the sunroof. Those two things are adding. The DVD player isn't so much, but the sunroof is a little bit of an extra added step, just because you got to remove a seal that holds everything kind of together, and it's a little bit more work. Like I said a couple videos ago, luckily this headliner isn't really sagging anywhere, so the headliner's not so much ruined except for the one spot that I fixed crudely, which that wouldn't have dropped either if the window wasn't missing. So I really don't want to lose this. I'm hoping that the other side of it isn't totally destroyed. We'll see when we get it down. So the first thing I'm going to do is get you guys set up. We're going to get the visors pulled out, the front control unit for the rear air, and then I'm just going to start working backwards, getting all the plastic pulled out, taken down. Then once that's done, we can pull the front section of headliner down. I'm actually going to take it out of the truck, and then the back section. I'm hoping I can take it out of the truck instead of having to leave it in and trying to clean around it, because it'd just be easier. There is a wiring harness that goes down the front driver's side A-post that connects into the fuse blocks right there. We'll see how easy that's going to be to remove. If it's too much, then I'm just going to drop the headliner down and we'll kind of work around it. So we'll get everything set up, and let's start getting this thing tore out. This is why I needed to remove it. As you can see, that's right full of mouse nests, which tells me that the entire headliner is probably right full. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. So tools you're going to need are Torx drivers and a Phillips screwdriver for this front section. You need a T10 that removes the bracket that holds the visor in. Then you need a T15 that removes the piece that holds the lock for the visor. Then you need a Phillips screwdriver, because God forbid GM ever did anything in one uniform piece. Then you need a Phillips screwdriver to remove the screw out of this, so you can drop the whole thing down. There's two clips. There's not normally, you know, all of this. That's not normally in there. So this whole thing has got to get cleaned. I got to tear this whole thing apart before I put it back in, because that's all mouse urine and poop, and obviously the nest, and that just tells me that the further I go back, the worse this is going to be. So I guess we'll get back at it. know, either you've seen or may not seen because the seats are in the way. But the dash is, again, for the third time taken apart now. All because of this wiring harness that's right here. There's 3 plugs. 2 under the dash that are way up under here. In that fuse box right there. There's 2 that go there. And then the third one is way up, actually way up here on the dash, which is this plug. That's the third plug. That's actually right here. Where it gets plugged in is this plug that's right here. So you have to take the dash apart. Now the great part is that, again, GM and their infinite wisdom, this was obviously put in before the dash was put in the truck, because I had to take the bolts on this side, stress the dash so I get it to pull down enough so the plugs can go back in. So I can tell you right now that when old Jeremy goes put this back together, this is not getting routed the way GM did it, because there's a nice big void right down here that'll pop right down into the bottom, and I can plug it right back in again. And it'll look semi-OEM, because this is just joy. Now you can see on the floor all of the stuff that's been falling out all over the seat. It's just, it's loaded up in here. I don't know if we can get it down enough for you guys to see. Yeah, there's, oh, look at that. That's nice. That's everywhere in there. I don't know how much, till I pull this down, how much of the wiring they've actually eaten. So obviously everything's working, but you know, you really got to look, because I know the cable that comes down right here, that's for the microphone that's mounted right on the side of the console up here for the OnStar. Well, that wire's all nice and chewed up, so I'm going to have to redo all that wiring, like I've done most of the wiring on this truck. Under the dash, under the hood, in the back. This is great. This is just continuing. But this will be easier, because this should come out with the truck. I believe this is the only harness. I don't think that harness... This is why I wanted to do this, because the video that I saw wasn't really that good, and it didn't explain that you had to take this all apart. I don't know how that guy did it, because that guy had an LT, which has way more wiring than this thing does, and he's like, oh, you just pull it and wiggle it up through. Well, where's this plug come into play? So this is why I wanted to show you guys how to actually take the headliner out of these things, because I've seen some, but the GTM 800s, I really haven't seen hardly any of them that fully explain how to do it. So we'll get the camera back in the back again. Now that this is down, I think I can start popping all the plastic out. I got to glance at that side once I get it loose enough. I'm hoping that that wiring is for something else. Might be coming up here to the puck on the roof. It might not actually have anything to do with any of this. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm really hoping, because if that's the case, then I got to go through and disassemble that wiring. But you'll know, because I'll tell you. All right, so let's get this headliner out of here. Okay, so this piece here goes into, and I don't know if you guys can see it over my shoulder right here, this slot, and that's how this blows the air up into it. A video I watched, you had to take this whole thing out. Nope, now because the headliner's loose, I just rocked it this way and the whole thing came out. So that was wrong. This is actually the easiest way to do it. Just take the whole headliner, shift it this way, and it'll pop right out of this little groove that it's in here, and then it'll just start coming right out. So we're gonna get set back up again, and I'm gonna have to have my wife help me, and we're just going to kind of walk this out of the truck. Okay, the headliner's out. There's 8,000 cars going by as usual. As you can see right here, I think they use this as the bathroom, because this is where the staining is on the, actually if you look on the other side, you can see, oh, not all, that's nice. Clean that off when it goes back in. This is actually all got a discoloration, you can kind of see right here. That would be because right here they were urinating everywhere. So I got to get that cleaned up. They were chewing on this a little bit. This is where the overhead unit sits. So they're chewing on that. Luckily, I don't believe they chewed the wiring up here. I know they chewed the wiring for the, yeah, they didn't. They just got to the tape that I'll retape all this before it goes back in. But they, luckily, they only got to the OnStar one, which that's not a huge deal. I don't plan on using it anyways. I'm going to fix it, but I don't plan on using it, so it's not the end of the world if it didn't. The one thing in the video that I saw, this wasn't even discussed. This is another harness that goes to something, I don't know. It comes tied into here somewhere, so it's for something in the back. I don't know. This might actually be, actually think about it, it is. This is where the rear air control. This is how it tells it what speeds it needs to be on. So this was not told to be removed. Now, it might be because the one video that I saw, the guy that had it, his unit wouldn't had up top. No, I guess it still would have. I'm not sure, because then some of them, if this had a center console and the rear air control is also located in the back of the center console, so it might reroute a different way in a different vehicle for depending on application. This is an LS, so this is how they ran it without the sunroof and the DVD player. I don't know. It's worth noting that you have to, this goes around the duct work that goes up in the top, that comes up into this part up here, and then this is how it gets to all the rear air units. So, like I said, he showed where he had to pull the whole thing out, and he didn't say anything about a 7mm bolt that's actually in there. That I was wondering why I couldn't pull the thing loose, but it didn't matter, because I took the whole headliner and I shifted it sideways, and it just popped out of this thing. So that's probably the way it's going to go back in. So I still got to figure out how the back section comes out, because I'm not totally sure, but I'm going to get this thing cleaned up first before I worry about that. And then the other one I'm just going to set on top of this one. I don't really want to get it too dirty, because these sawhorses are not the cleanest, but I need to get all this, there's poop everywhere. I need to get all this cleaned up and then start hitting it with some cleaner and stuff and see what we can do. Oh, look, another June bug. That time of the year. I mean, it helps. My wife's doing the filming, so that might have been why it was slightly more difficult for the video that I watched, because the guy was trying to do everything by hand and then stop. And so I'm hoping this helps you guys a lot. I mean, we're really starting to really move with this channel. I'm really excited about it. We just recently hit 300 subscribers, which, I mean, to a lot of people, that's not a lot. But the fact that I've done that in just over a month and a half, I'm pretty happy about that. So one thing I have noticed, though, is over 90% of you watching these episodes are not subscribed. So please make sure you have that subscribe notification clicked and the bell notification on, so you can get all the future content that we're doing, so I can continue to give you guys awesome content. That's enough yapping for me. I'm going to get this this cleaned up. So we're gonna try some of the Chemical Guys interior cleaner. The other thing I still have some Lysol left, so I'll spray this down with Lysol when I'm done. But I'm gonna try and spray this, like the stuff up here still that didn't quite come loose. I'm gonna try and spray everything down, get it really soaked in, and then I don't want to get too wet, because again, if it gets too wet, it'll start separating the glue, and then I'm in trouble. This thing is to just get all of this off, loosened up, make it sanitary again. I'm really lucky they didn't chew much of the wiring up in here. They chewed some of the electrical tape off, but they didn't really get after the wires too much. Thank God. Just scrubbing everything up. Big thing. Just get it all pretty much where they were. Like down through here, you can see this is all mouse urine on all this, so we're gonna scrub all this up. The staining won't go away. I'm not really concerned about it, but I want to get the biodegradable hazard urine and everything else off of it and cleaned up, and then I'll hit it with Lysol, and that'll eliminate it. And then I'll probably just touch this with a scent of Febreze, just so it'll give it a nice fresh smell. And then when I hit it with the ozone, that'll be it. There'll be nothing left of it, and we won't smell this god-awful smell anymore, which really isn't too bad up here. I don't know about the back section yet, because I haven't taken it off. But the reason why we were smelling it so strong in here was because that overhead unit that I took down where the nest was, that's where primarily most of the smell is coming from. So like I said before, you can ozone all day, but if you don't get rid of where the source is coming from, it's just going to continue to smell. It'll just over time continuously get better, but you're going to have to deal with that smell. The part I find super, super strange about this whole process is I found no mice in this thing anywhere. And I've had the whole thing apart. I've had the dash out, all the door panels off. The interior you guys saw was all ripped out. And if you haven't, go back and look in a couple episodes, you'll see it. But yet, I haven't found any mice. So I don't know if they just vacated this thing at some point. I mean, I know the back section when I'm sitting, there's a lot of white poop up in there. So I'd be curious to see what's left up in there once I figure out how that thing comes down. Because it's those hooks. I'm not sure how it comes down yet. But I'm going to figure it out. Then I'm going to tell you guys how it is. So I'm going to finish cleaning this up. And then we're going to work on that back section. All right. So very similar to how the front are. The front grab handle on the passenger side, there's two tabs. You actually pop the tab out and then the whole handle pops out. These are the same way. They're a little bit of a pain, especially if they haven't been out, which I'm sure this has not been removed since factory. But you got to kind of rock this down. And it'll hopefully separate if it wants to cooperate. Now you got to be careful with this because, oh my God, I can literally hear the mouse rolling around up there. There's so much of it. You got to be careful with this because it's obviously old and you wouldn't want to break it, but once you start getting it, let's just slowly work the thing down. If it wants to cooperate, which, you know, this is always easier to show after when it's out, but there's some video, there's other videos out there that are better than this so you can actually see. But this just shows you how much of a pain these things are, and you got to be careful, and you don't want to break them. And no, my luck, I'm going to break them. And there it goes. Okay, so now that side's out. That's all it is. This thing will actually do that. And then all the mouse poop comes rolling out of the ceiling, and then it locks back up in, and we're gonna hold it back up in there until I'm ready to remove it, because there's a lot of poop that just dropped down. All right, so we're gonna get this side off, and then we'll be back when we start pulling the headliner out. All right, so those two hooks are what really hold the back section in. There's one push pin that goes up in here, and then there's another one up in the front that holds it up in. Then there's this one wire that goes to the back light, and that's it. And as we can see, more mouse nest. So, like I said, I was telling my wife as we were filming this, all I could smell was mouse pee. And this would be why, because there's another nest up in there, and this is why the smell wasn't going away. That's why the back of this thing stunk so bad, because the freaking mice were in here. These things are horrible. Get it out of here and see how much damage it caused to this thing. Well, they loaded it up with poop pretty good. Oh, that's nice. So that's two mouse nests up in the headliner I found. So when I say to you guys, when you do something like this, it's probably best to just start from the top down. I should have, when I had the whole interior removed, I should have actually pulled this entire headliner out, because I never would have gotten to this. No way would I have ever gotten this. This is why the smell was not going away in the back of this truck. You can see where they chewed this all up nicely too. Luckily, they didn't chew the headliner. Luckily, they didn't chew the wiring. A little fun fact about General Motors: when I removed the front section of the headliner that's right there, the front and then the next two rows of lighting stopped working. But this one kept working. So this one, this power that comes in the back, gets its power from somewhere else. It has nothing to do with the front end of the truck. Doesn't surprise me. This is the other end of these hooks I was talking about. So if you're actually looking to replace them, you just squeeze these things in, and then the whole hook comes right out. And this is all it is. These just snap up in, and when they go up into the roof, this part here is what goes up into the roof, and then when you snap this up in, it actually expands this outward. That's what holds it in the roof. It was actually kind of smart on GM's part. They did it this way, because then they didn't need a bunch of stuff other than this is a functional piece. You know, you got a hook in the back so you can hang clothing or whatever off of it. This is a functional piece. Instead of them having a bunch of push pins everywhere that were not functional and they had to try and make it blend in, this was a functional piece. So as far as engineering, this is actually a very smart idea. So, and this is how it works. It just pushes back up in, and then you can see that piece comes up in, and that's what spreads this thing out. pretty simple design. It's very similar to what the grab handle is. If you come over here, the grab handle here for the passenger side is very similar the same way. If you look under here, there's these push pins. These go up in, they cause this to expand out, and that's what holds us up against the headliner. It's actually kind of, like I said, it's kind of a genius design on their part, because this is functional, but it also holds the headliner up in. So, all right, we're going to get that part cleaned up and scrubbed down, and this thing already smells way better than it did. So once I get the ozone machine on it, that'll be it. We won't smell any more mice remnants, because obviously the nest that's up in the overhead console, I still got to clean that out, which I won't leave you guys out of that. You'll be able to see it. And then this nest back here are the two reasons why we were smelling it so strongly. So let's get this cleaned up. All right, so all this stuff here is actually urine. So we're going to, again, not get super crazy with the cleaner, but you can see there's a bunch of it here, there's a bunch of it over there, and a bunch on that side. We're going to get all that cleaned up and then clean this up the best we can. There's also on the seat post, on the back, I noticed there's some staining on that too. Also, that's urine, so we're going to scrub all that down. I'm going to vacuum up as much as I can before I put the headliner back up in. And then I'm going to have to give it one final vacuum with the big vacuum before I call it close, or before I call it done. So, which I'm going to back it out for all that so we can get it out in the sun. Then I'm going to run the ozone machine, and then that's it. No more smell of mouse pee-pee and poo-poo. A lot of people would have probably given up by now on this thing, but this piece of American history right here. It's a 17-year-old truck. It's in beautiful shape for northeastern New York that you don't find them like this. I mean, I've seen one, I think, in the last 2 months driving around that's in almost as good a shape as this one. But most of them are they're totally rotted and gone. So I don't want to lose this thing. Eventually it's going to need a new back bumper because we're a little rusty and crunchy back underneath all this. That's why this is all bowed up right here. So we're going to eventually replace this. And it's also got dented in right here. I don't know. Somebody wants to jackknife the trailer into it or something. Which also dented in the back of the quarter panel, which that's easy. Once the bumper's off, I should be able to PDR that and pull it back out because it didn't crack the paint, thank God. But little steps at a time. This is probably going to be... Oh, just a fly. I thought it was a spider again. Ooh, I had to kill them things. This is probably going to be the last time this is actually referred to as the Salvage Yard Suburban Rescue, because we are now past the point that this is Salvage Yard. We are to the point that this is a Suburban. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. I mean, it is a GTM 800 because that's what they referred to this body style back then. But I don't know. Maybe you guys leave it in the comments down below what you think this ought to be called. Maybe we'll go with that. Eventually I got to get all this cleaned up too. Another day. Let's get the poo-poo cleaned up. All right, cleaned up. I'm going to vacuum all this before I put the headliner back in, and then I'm going to do a real good vacuum after everything's done, but I want to get a lot of poop that's all stuck in here still that fell down in when I was taking the headliner out. But me and my wife were just talking how many mice nests were in this vehicle. And I stopped and think about it. There's one here, 2, 3 up in the B post, 4 in the air conditioning ductwork, 5 up above in the rear control, 6 over here, 7 under the fuse box, and 8 was actually found in the air box for the air intake. 8 total mice nests I found in this thing. That's pretty impressive. I don't think I've ever found that many mice nests in anything I've ever owned before, or seen, or done. That's a pretty impressive number. Tell me how many mice nests you've ever come across in a vehicle. That'd be pretty interesting to know. I still think the grossest thing I've ever found was the tartar sauce in my grandmother's car. Ugh. That smelled terrible. And this was pretty nasty, but that still cuts the mustard on that one. All right, so nice thing about this stuff has citrus in it, so it'll start to dissolve some of the acids left from the urine. Obviously, the stains I won't be able to fully get rid of, but the big thing is getting rid of that acidic smell that we're smelling that's left from the mice urine. And then once I run the ozone machine, now that everything's out, we should be good. I know there's nothing left. I mean, all this stuff's nice and clean under this side here. I didn't take this off because I know there's nothing behind it, but I'll vacuum this all again and we'll get it cleaned up real quick with a little vacuum, and then we're gonna put it back together and then get after it with the big vacuum and leave it outside. And I'm gonna run the ozone machine. Normally I think I do it for 20 minutes, but I think I'm gonna do it this time for 30. Maybe I do it 30. I don't know. I'm gonna run it for a very long time though, because I want to make sure there's absolutely no smell possibly left in this thing, because I'm not going to put my family in this vehicle knowing that there's a mice smell still in it. Not going to happen. Because if it's still there, you'll know, because there'll be a road flare stuck down in the gas tank, and poof, that's it. She's gone. We'll call and do some fire training on it. All right, let's get this cleaned up with the headliner back in. Okay, this wire's all fixed. This was the, like I said before, the wire that goes to the microphone that mounts on the side of the console. If this was truly messed up so bad I couldn't fix it, which, I mean, it really is, it's just wire, it's easy to fix. But if I just said I didn't want it, all that does is just clip on the side of it. So I could have just taken that thing right off and not need it. But it's OEM, and I want to kind of keep it as OEM as I can. So this harness here, what it goes up and does is, this does, obviously, like I said, the microphone for the OnStar, but then it goes over here where the antenna is for the OnStar and the XM satellite radio. In 2006 is when GM changed this. They used to have two antennas before this. One would be for OnStar, the other one would be for XM. And then 06 they finally got smart and made it one antenna, which I don't know why they didn't do that before. So now that this is all fixed to put back together, it's not beautiful, but it's not going to be all exposed and have to worry about anything shorting out and setting the headliner on fire. Now that that's all done, we're going to get the headliner back in and then start putting everything back together. The last part's going to go in is the overhead unit, because that's the last part I'm going to clean. But I'll get the headliner back in, plug all the wiring in, put the dash all back together, put all the plastic back together, and then we'll clean that overhead unit before I throw it back up in. But I can tell you, sitting here right now, I don't even smell mouse smell anymore, which I'm sure smelled it before. I was only sitting right there, so that's just disgusting. So we're gonna get that in, start putting everything back together. Okay. It's in, the push pins are all in. Big thing is, again, like I said with the dash, you gotta kind of remember where everything goes. The shorter stubby ones, they all go in the middle, and then the one in the back section there, and then the longer ones go up here and then on the sides, and then that holds it all up in. This thing, I'm telling you, is the way that you take the bolt out, pull this out, slide it down. Yeah, no. You take this thing where the notch is, and you actually just slide the headliner right up into it, and you're in about 10 seconds, and it goes right in perfectly. So I'm actually really surprised, as much room as there is in here, that they didn't get up into these parts. I'm actually really, really surprised by that. But then I pushed those in while my wife held this part up in, and then I just threw the handles in so that way she didn't have to keep holding it. Now I'm going to get the front visors put back up, so that way the headliner's being held up on its own, and then just start popping all the plastic back together. dash is now put back together. All the interior plastic's done. The only thing that's left is I got to put the resistor back in, and then the cover for underneath, and then obviously this overhead unit, which I've been saving, so you guys can see, get all that pulled out of there and scrub it down, and then I'm going to run the old ozone machine again, and then we should be good. Obviously, I got to vacuum it one more time, and I have a nice large mess in the garage and parts still everywhere and stuff out in the driveway, because you know I go to pull one of my 8,000 lead cords and all 8,000 of them want to come, so we're gonna get all this picked up and then we'll pull it out, do the ozone treatment, and I think this will finally be it. Guys, you see that is much cleaner. A lot of down in here and all through here is where some of the nest was. You can actually see where they chewed up quite a bit of it right there. This, I actually had to take the controller unit out, bring it inside, and give it a rinse out in the sink, because I couldn't get to all this stuff in here because they use plastic rivets to hold this piece in, and I was never going to get to it. But I can tell you, from when I brought this back here to now, the smell is gone. A lot of the smell I was smelling up front was from this thing. So this thing stunk. So now we're going to get this put back up in the truck and then give it a quick vacuum real quick, because I can't pull it out now, because give you guys a little look-see as I just looked up the ceiling. It's raining again. That's all it does around here, is it pours. And it is pouring. So we're not going to be pulling anything outside for a while. And of course, all my lead cords are getting soaked right now, which, oh well, now I'm getting soaked. Woo! Okay, after 4 hours, it's put back together. Unfortunately, I lost footage because the phone died. But it's all back together. It actually smells pretty good. I'm going to hit it with the ozone one last time just to be quadruple sure, but everything's back together. I hope this has helped you guys in the future. The only thing you guys missed out on was watching this part go back in. And all it is normally 2 plugs, but with the microphone on the other side, there's 3, and 1 Phillips screw in the center, and 2 clips in the back, and that's it. That's the only thing you guys missed out on. The dash you've already seen. There's videos out there of that anyways. I wasn't going to go into depth on that. I just really want to go in depth of how the headliner comes out and goes back in. My wife's second smelling it for me. This thing right up here was where a lot of the smell was being held, and it stunk in there. Now it's just, I don't smell anything. Be interested now. It's like, because I'm going to start it up, back it out, hit with the ozone. I'm going to get cleaned up. While I get cleaned up, I'm going to let the ozone do its thing, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like afterwards. This will be pointless now. I might as well remove this. Oh, oops! I put it around the cord. Let's cut that. But I got it all vacuumed up, cleaned up. She's inside's done. Now that part's taken care of, the inside's all done. So we can. Well, hopefully in the next week or 2 I'll have it extra registered and then we can start driving it, and I'll probably find out what else is wrong with it. I did get a scan tool and ran the check engine light. One was a random misfire, not surprising because the gas that was in it, and the other one was an emissions, which is probably because the gas cap was off. I poured some fresh gas down in it. I had 5 gallons of 91 octane, which is ethanol free where we are, and I poured some of that down there to really try and clean it out. But I am going to start next couple stages on this is going to be cleaning the engine. I'm going to get some seafoam. We'll do that, and then I got to replace that power steering cooler. That's the last thing I do, and then an oil change. This needs an oil change. Computer says 1%. I'm pretty sure it's been longer than that, and you don't want to use it. Granted, when I do the seafoam, I'm going to wait because I want to do the seafoam, get all the nasty contaminants down, the plastic go to the oil, and then I'll change the oil as one last step. But that's going to be it for today. Please like, subscribe. It's a big thing. Like and subscribe. Riley, too soon. Give it a second, though, kid. We'll be with you momentarily. Oh, she's over there shaking her head, yes. So please like, subscribe, have that bell notification turned on for future content. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Say bye.